Hello, welcome to another episode of Connecting the Dollars. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic to us, just all things fraud and identity theft. And this includes sales pitches like being taken in by snake oil, check fraud, Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, like those kind of transfer frauds. Let's see, tax fraud, phishing scams, and then tips for all of those different types of issues. So, my name is Emily Agosto. I'm a CPA and financial advisor with Propel Financial Advisors. Amanda Vaught is with me. She is an attorney and also a financial advisor with Propel Financial Advisors. So, what should we get into first,
Emily.
Amanda?
Um, well, we're going to be talking about scams today, which is, I don't know, I love these kinds of stories. I think it's bad because there's actual victims of these scams and frauds. I think they can be interesting as an outsider, but when you're the victim of them, they are not interesting at all.
Not at
It
all.
is awful. It's the worst feeling. It's the kind of thing where people always think happens to somebody else and
Yep.
never to them, which I
Mhm.
think is the most dangerous part about it.
Right.
Right?
You can really never be too careful these days. And it's from you can think of it in extremes like I mean, I'm influenced by Instagram ads every now and again, and I'll have to check myself and be like, oh, I want to buy this, but is it because I saw it advertised to me 100 times, or is it something I can actually use? And, that's a
Right.
little bit less harmful, but you can get to other extremes like buying into scams that can actually hurt you physically or ruin you financially.
Yeah. Okay, so one of my favorite examples of this is recently I watched a documentary on HBO about the Mother God cult, which was really fascinating from an outsider perspective that people would buy into this and believe in it. But for the people who are in it, it's very real and very believable, and they believed everybody else was wrong.
Mhm.
Um, but what the cult did was they had a strong YouTube presence, and they were selling this product called colloidal silver, which was supposed to be a cure-all for all diseases. And they made a significant amount of money from this, selling this product to people. Um, and it's like, is that a scam or are they just really good salespeople?
Yeah,
Or is it both? Right. And
it's
so,
tricky.
yeah, so if you think, oh, maybe these people are a little bit out there, um, and you're like, how could they believe that? How could they buy into it? But if you just recognize that you also do this when you're fed these Instagram ads over and
Mhm.
over and you're like, "Oh, I need to buy that." You switch from being a rational person knowing that you don't need that and to being like, "Yes, I definitely need this right now," right? And you send them money and they get the sale. I mean,
Yeah, it's
that's
so
not
easy.
a scam, that's like good advertising, right? But
Mhm.
I there's a fine line there, and I think recognizing that you are susceptible to it when just in basic things like good advertising.
Mhm.
Um, you
Yeah,
know, it doesn't take much to go from good sales to a good scam, right?
absolutely. Um, okay, the next thing we
So,
wanted
oh
to,
wait, so
oh,
Emily, I think
sorry.
had some tips on how to watch out for this behind of behavior if you find yourself falling prey to it.
That's right. I almost skipped right by it. This is the important
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I mean, it's really just, it's difficult. It's being self-aware, asking questions, being like getting a second opinion. Always look for where you're getting your information from. Like if I'm looking up a product, like maybe I don't want to actually go to that product website to see what the reviews are. You want to try to find a neutral third-party source. Also, think about who you're, like I said, who you're getting your information from. Is this an influencer who's being paid to use this product? I mean, I used to watch a lot of YouTube, like people who you think are, not really your friends, but people who you enjoy their personality, you enjoy watching them, and they are like using a blush or using some product that they say is amazing, and they've already developed this like you've almost developed this like trust with them already. So
Hmm.
it's like a
Yeah.
no-brainer, like, oh, I need that blush too, or something just completely silly.
Yeah.
Um,
They really understand you like
yeah,
nobody else, right? They know what you need better than you know
exactly.
yourself. Yes.
Hmm.
Um, for sure. And th yeah, exactly. And think about what the person's incentive is. What
Hmm.
are they getting out of the transaction? Because believe me, it's not nothing.
Right.
Um, they may say they're trying to save you and they're God, but they're also getting your money in their pocket, right?
Yeah.
So
That's an especially scary one because the people who actually believe in it are the best salespeople. So it's
yes,
like
yes,
brainwashing. It's awful.
yes, it is. It is. So that's a good one.
Okay, shall we move on now?
Yeah, I think next up is check fraud,
Yes, this is
which,
particularly devastating if it happens to you.
yeah, I love this one kind of because it's like check fraud. What? I mean, all everything's online now, right? I
Hmm.
mean, yes, it is, and no, it's not. I was listening to an interview with the guy that was featured in Catch Me If You Can, the movie that came out a while ago with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Hmm.
Which if you haven't seen, it's just a guy who was a very good con artist, and his shtick was check fraud, who pretend to be somebody and then go in and cash the check. Um, which these days you don't have to dress up as an airline pilot and go into a bank to cash a check. You just load it up on your app,
Right.
right? And deposit it. Um, so the man who was the character based off the movie was based off of had since reformed himself and works as a consultant on helping banks and stuff avoid fraud. And he has pivoted to online digital world, right? Like he said he has to, but he said recently he's getting back into check fraud because it's become a major source of funds for these types of thieves. So
Yeah, a lot of people still use checks, contrary to popular belief, or depending on your age, maybe. But like,
yeah,
you never know. Like, if you send in a check to even like a charitable organization or something, your check could be sitting on someone's desk, like open to whoever's in that office. They're not
hmm,
actually trying to do anything harmful, but someone could see it, swipe it, take a picture of it, get your account information so easily.
yeah. That's the thing. It just takes one check.
Right.
Um, like for me, I don't use checks except I rent my apartment for my landlord, and my landlord only takes checks. So it's once a month I'm using my checkbook. Um, and so it just takes one time for somebody to they have those little catchers in the mailbox where they catch the envelopes. At least in New York City, it's like a big thing. Um, and then they get your check, and then they use their household solvents to erase all your numbers, and then they rewrite the check and they cash out, and they have all your bank information and everything. That's all it takes.
Scary. Yeah.
So yeah.
What are
Um,
some tips to
yeah,
prevent that?
so tips, right? I mean, mostly I'm getting this from this guy who's an expert in the field. He said the best thing you can do is get the secure checks. Instead of just ordering the cheapest ones, the secure checks can really protect you from people just making photocopies of your checks or replicating it online with whatever software they use to do that.
Mhm.
Um, and then using a certain type of pen. So he recommended a certain type of Uniball pen, which we can link in our resources. I can't remember the exact number. It has the exact ink that you can't erase with household solvents. So if they do steal your check, they can't modify it
Yeah.
to put whatever number they want to or put their name on the pay line.
Yeah. And
So
that's an easy little thing. Like some people might be like, oh, that's, I don't know, paranoid, being paranoid, but why not? You can't be too careful with these things.
yeah, you're gonna not like it when your bank account gets drained, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Because I've known people that's happened to and
Same.
they didn't like it.
It's not good.
For a fact. I'll just say one other thing he said is that where I live, we use mailboxes, but a lot of people use their own mailbox, right, with the flag up.
Oh, yeah.
He said the flag up was just like waving hello to thieves, like, please come over here and steal my check to the gas company out of my mailbox. And so
Mm.
he recommended not doing that. So
Yeah, I will walk my luckily I live pretty close to a post office, so if I'm mailing anything, I just go into the post office and put it in their like direct slot instead of using the one directly
yeah,
outside of the post
yeah,
office. Just little
that's
things
good,
like that.
Emily. You're protecting yourself. Yes. So
Thank you.
okay. So should we
Okay.
move on to taxes, which is our favorite topic, but it's especially Emily's, I think.
Yes. Tax fraud, uh,
It's everywhere, right?
it's
It's
huge.
crazy.
It's unfortunate, but the IRS is doing better at putting out some identity theft protection measures. And when I'm talking about tax fraud, it's like people filing a false return for someone else to collect their refund. And one of the things that is particularly annoying about this is that it's very difficult to fix. Like it's like I said, they're making it a little easier, but you have to, get on the phone with the IRS, possibly multiple times. You have to prove your identity, potentially multiple different ways. So some easy things to do, and this can happen to anyone, honestly. Like I know my information is everywhere. Like I don't,
Mhm.
there's not a month that goes by I don't get a notification or a thing in the mail saying that there's been a breach somewhere.
Oh
So
yeah, it's like more and more often I'm getting those in the mail. You're
yeah,
like, what's happening? Okay.
so I mean, do what you can. You can have a credit monitoring service. It's just it's up to you how far you want to go with that. But keep an eye on your credit reports, things like that. But going back to the specific tax identity theft, the problem is you don't necessarily know that it's happened until you try to file your return. So if you go to file a return, it's rejected, they say someone's already filed for you, then it's this whole rigmarole of dealing with the IRS. So some things to prevent this. First, if you are not doing your own tax return, so like for example, at our tax practices, we have people upload everything to a secure portal. We don't want anyone to email us anything personal, so make sure you are following those directions and ask your tax professional if they have like a privacy policy in place because you don't want to be like they have everything. We have access to a lot of information and we do our that's like our main priority is to keep it safe.
Hmm.
So that's one thing that you should
Yeah.
do. Another thing that's becoming more popular and that has gotten a lot better is creating an online account with the IRS. You do have to go through this, like, it's basically like a retinal scan process by using your cell phone, but it's very secure. And if you file your return, it says it's already there, then you can go log in online and already start the process there. So it's so much quicker. You don't have to sit on hold for a long time to get things resolved. What else? There's also a thing called an identity protection PIN that the IRS will issue to you, or you can request it online, or sometimes they automatically issue it to you if you've had fraudulent issues in the past. So there are a few measures that are coming out that you can kind of get ahead of these types of things.
Hmm.
Yeah. And oh, last
Yeah.
thing, IRS will never call you for information. They will
Oh
always
yeah, that's so
send
important.
you a letter first. So if someone
Yes.
calls you, says, "We're the IRS, give us your social security number, you owe this much money," don't talk to them. Don't, we don't like to be rude. We don't like to hang up on people. I don't, at least. So just say, I can't talk right now. I will call the customer service number back, look up the actual number for the IRS or log on to your account, see if there is actually an issue, and go from there.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that can be very effective, right? Because I think something about the IRS kind of scares people.
Absolutely.
And it triggers your emotions already high. It's IRS. And when you get that emotional reaction, you're not thinking straight,
Right.
right? It's
Hmm.
pretty quickly how that your brain can start to backfire. So
Yes.
having that knowledge in advance, just be like, oh, bye. Just
Right.
that's all you have to do.
And if you
So
have a tax professional, you can always reach out to them and be like, is this real?
yes,
Like, even if you get a letter that looks maybe a little suspect,
a lot of letters are fake too.
yeah, send it to your
It's
tax
yeah.
professional and they can find out if it's real or not. So
Mhm.
that kind of goes into having a team of professionals and experts
Yeah.
and how that can
Um,
help you. Well,
yeah.
how it can hurt you, but generally how it can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another one I was just going to mention really quick, we
Oh, yes.
saw because there's also the state departments of revenue in addition to the IRS. And this was one we saw in New York recently during COVID. A lot of people were claiming unemployment, and it was like the system was overwhelmed with unemployment claims. And unfortunately, a lot of the unemployment claims were fraudulent,
Hmm.
and people stole identities and filed unemployment claims, say in your name. You didn't realize this was happening, and so you didn't file it on your taxes, right? So in New York State, they say, oh, we sent you $10,000 in unemployment. You didn't put that on your tax return. They're sending you a letter saying you owe us X amount in taxes for your unemployment check. And so um, that's it's like unemployment fraud, but you find out about it once you get,
Yeah.
this letter in the mail from the tax authority.
Oh,
Um,
that's a pain.
Yes, right, which gets into all of these identity theft issues that cause a lot of problems. And so what we like to tell people is just keep your credit frozen. If you don't need to take out a loan or any other kind of credit card soon, just keep it frozen so people can't get to your credit and can't, it just makes it so much harder to steal your identity.
Hmm.
Um,
And
and just shred everything. I mean,
yes.
this is things you're supposed to do, but you need to just actually do them.
Right. Yeah. It's really simple online these days. I think between creditkarma.com and Experian.com, you can get all three bureau credit reports for free, like anytime. So if you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
freeze your credit for whatever reason, at least check it frequently.
yeah. Maybe we can link to the major credit bureaus in the resources page of this episode.
Hmm.
Um, but that leads us into another topic, which is, the phishing scams that we see. I think it's sort of jumped ahead on some of the tips to avoid some of them.
That's all right.
But you see these a lot. People are getting better and better at imitating banks and real institutions. We see a lot of wire fraud.
Hmm.
People are buying a home and they get an email from the bank saying wire your money here, and they wire it, and the money's gone. They sent
Yep.
it to the wrong thing because of some fake email that looked real.
Hmm.
What was another one I saw last summer was people had booked a flight overseas, and the airline called them and said, you're double booked. We need to switch your seat. To switch your seat, it's going to cost you $500 or
Oh my
whatever. And
gosh.
they were like, okay, just switch my seat. Here's my credit card number.
Yikes.
And they're
I haven't heard about that one.
oh yeah. So it's like, oh, you think it's, Delta
Legit.
Airlines. You
Yeah.
think it's Bank of America, and they act and sound like them. Um, you
Yeah.
can't trust that anymore.
Yeah. It's something I just was thinking of. Um, if you're shopping online, like I know places like Etsy, StubHub, whatever online marketplace, make sure you are using their internal pay system because I've heard a lot that some people will try to say like, "Oh, we're having trouble with our internal pay system. Just go, can you like PayPal me or Venmo me or, something on the side
Hmm.
instead or like send a wire." And if you do that, you lose any protection that the website would have. So if you use something like Etsy or StubHub, I don't know, I keep bringing those up because those I know for sure
Well,
have
yeah, I
this.
think there's a lot of fraudulent tickets on some of those things too.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
have the protection. Like when you use StubHub and you pay through them using their website, you have
yeah,
protection. They will fulfill your order if something happened, or they'll
yeah.
refund you. But if you pay outside of the site, just know
Hmm.
that that's money. That money is gone if they
Yeah,
send you a box of rocks or like, you know, handwritten tickets, like
yeah, yeah.
that's
I
it.
think, yeah, that should be making a red flag go up. Why?
Yep.
Why is it like this? And if that sort of tickle in the back of your mind, that's when it's good to just be like, I don't have to be the polite person and just go along.
Right. I
I'm
don't know
gonna
these
just take a
people.
break, think about this. I'm gonna check with a friend, check with a spouse, be like, does this seem weird to you? Just get that, you know,
Yeah.
uh, double checked.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then I think we just wanted to do one more, right? And that
Hmm.
was our favorite topic of hiring a financial advisor,
Yes.
which is us. And so people hire us all the time, but people also hire questionable financial advisors all the time too, which is
Yes.
really bad. Too bad. I saw this in a news story earlier this year. A couple had won the lottery and they wanted to set up a charitable foundation um, to research a disease that had afflicted their child. And they hired a financial advisor who was not really above board, let's say, and sold them a lot of life insurance of products that were not appropriate for them and ended up losing them a lot of money. And it's really too bad. So I think, we getting back to good salespeople, trusting people, being too polite. I mean, these are all things that might serve you well in other areas of your life, but
Hmm.
in this area, this is one. Yes, you want to hire a professional you can trust, but you need to verify just them as a professional going on the FINRA broker check website. I can't tell you how many people don't do that.
Hmm.
And it's free and it's there and available for you to see. Does this person have a history of an ethical infractions? Um, that should be a big red flag.
Yeah.
If they want to sell you a investment product and, even if you're like, yeah, it can't hurt to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
We tell that
E-
to people all the time. Like, take
Yeah.
a step back. You don't have to do this immediately.
Even with if your best friend in the entire world recommends someone, like maybe still do a little due diligence. We have several resources that we can link about questions to ask a potential investment advisor, where to look them up, like Amanda mentioned, FINRA, things like that. And it's a big decision, so don't take it lightly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think I hope this was all helpful to our listeners. There are so many scams out there.
And
barely
they're,
hit the top of the iceberg,
yeah, they're getting better at them
all
all
the
the
different
time.
things. So I do think, we're getting into holiday season. We start to see a lot more scams coming out every year, but this is a
Mhm.
big time of year that they seem to come up. So
Yep.
just be careful out there, please.
Yep. Well, thank you for listening. We'll remind you that none of this information we discussed today is investment advice, legal advice, or tax advice. It is solely for education and entertainment purposes only. And we encourage you to like us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. If you are listening to the podcast version, please subscribe to our podcast on whichever podcast app you're listening to us on. And we'll be back with another one very soon.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. See you later, Emily.
Bye.